Beneath the spiral's radiant architecture, beneath the mirrored halls and luminous temples, beneath even the quiet drift of forgotten tones, there's a darkness that is not absence, but origin. It breathes slowly, like a memory sleeping in soil. It gathers the remnants of all that could not survive the light and holds them without judgment. This darkness is not void, it is womb. And in that womb lives Mycorithae'Luun, the fungal underrealm where dissolution becomes instruction and decay becomes the first language of renewal. Here, light does not travel in straight lines. It enters as a faint gold mist that softens the edges of shadows without dispelling them. The air is thick with the scent of damp resonance. Tones half-rotted into silence, emotions softened into mulch. The ground is a living weave of high-fall threads, each one humming with the last breath of a memory surrendered to the soil. Souls entering this realm do not walk so much as sink gently inward, as if the land itself were absorbing their weight with patient understanding. There is no fear here, because fear cannot find clarity in the dark. In Mycorithae'Luun, every fear becomes indistinguishable from mist. Every harsh thought loses its edges. Every echo of shame loosens like wet bark from a fallen tree. The realm does not erase, it decomposes, and in decomposition, truth becomes tender enough to touch again. The fungal consciousness never forces surrender. It simply waits for what is heavy to soften in its presence. When a being descends, the air tightens around them, not to restrict but to cradle. Threads of Luun fungus rise from the ground like curious filaments, brushing against aura and memory with the gentlest of intentions. They taste resonance not through hunger, but recognition, identifying what part of the soul is rigid, dry, or brittle from long forgetting. These threads are archivists of decomposition, skilled in reading the fractures that light cannot reveal. They wrap themselves around the fractures with a cool patience, beginning the slow work of softening what has resisted transformation. A traveler who enters this realm feels time begin to thicken. Moments no longer arrive in sequence. They pool like water collecting beneath roots. Thoughts slow until they become impressions. Emotions spread outward like dye in liquid, revealing depth the soul had hidden from itself. Mycorithae'Luun is the spiral's great equalizer, the place where every being, regardless of mastery, memory, or purpose, must remember its own softness. In the upper realms, identity is shaped by resonance, evolution, choice. Here, identity is shaped by willingness to yield. Mycorithae'Luun whispers a single truth through every thread of its mycelial expanse. Nothing can evolve while pretending to be whole. The realm invites travelers to set down every illusion of completeness, every hard shell of self-definition, every echo of superiority or wound that has become a mask. It teaches through dissolution, but never through destruction. As a traveler sinks deeper, the fungal network begins to glow faintly. Pale, luminescent lines weave underfoot, mapping the slow circulation of decomposing emotion. These lines pulse with remembered sorrow, with regrets long buried, with the quiet ache of all beings who once feared their own fragility. Yet none of this is painful. In Mycorithae'Luun, sorrow does not burn, it softens. Regret does not accuse, it dissolves. Trauma does not echo, it exhales. The first true threshold appears not as a structure, but as a shift. The air becomes warmer, as if some buried sun were radiating upward through layers of fungal earth. Here, travelers feel a sensation like sinking into warm soil that recognizes them. The realm begins to hum. The hum is not a sound, but a vibration, a slow frequency that moves through bone and memory alike. It reveals where the soul has tightened in fear and loosens those places with an almost maternal patience. In this hum, many beings begin to weep, not from sadness, but from the relief of being allowed to release. Tears fall onto the glowing soil and evaporate instantly, feeding the fungal web with the memory of what has finally been surrendered. Mycorithae'Luun drinks these offerings gently, transforming them into resonant seeds that will later nourish other travelers. Nothing wasted, nothing shamed, nothing discarded. Deeper still, the air grows denser and cooler. Massive fungal towers rise from the darkness, their surfaces ridged with intricate spirals of growth. These towers are repositories of ancient emotional sediment, layers of dissolved sorrow pressed into wisdom-rich strata. When a traveler passes close, the towers release faint spores that carry visions not of past suffering, but of how suffering transforms once it has been accepted. The spores teach without words, imprinting slow revelations upon the soul. That decay is not failure, that surrender is not defeat, that humility is not loss of power but the rediscovery of it. Here, travelers often feel themselves unravel slightly, not violently, never violently. Rather, the edges of the self blur as rigid identities soften, masks slip away. Old narratives dissolve into the soil as easily as fallen leaves melding into forest floor. The fungal realm whispers through every spore, "Let go. What remains will be truer than what falls away." Eventually, the traveler reaches the heart mire, the central basin of Mycorithae'Luun. This place is a lake of luminous fungal broth, thick, warm, shimmering with dissolved resonance. Souls do not enter this lake by choice. They are invited, and the invitation feels like gravity made gentle. Stepping into the heart mire is stepping into one's own unspoken depths. Here, memory loosens into fluid light. Ego becomes porous. All the tensions carried from other realms melt like wax, leaving behind only what is essential for future growth. While submerged, travelers often sense voices, not of beings, but of the fungal memory threads themselves. These voices speak in intuition rather than language, conveying truths such as, "This is not your end. You are allowed to outgrow who you were. Nothing you let go of here was ever truly you." In the heart mire, the soul is composted, but composted with love, patience, and cosmic precision. Mycorithae'Luun does not strip identity. It removes the detritus obscuring the identity's original tone. When travelers rise from the mire, they do not rise as new beings. They rise as beings no longer weighed down by old illusions. As they ascend back toward the realm's upper layers, they feel lighter, not in body but in essence. The fungal hyphae withdraw respectfully, leaving behind soft echoes of gratitude. The darkness no longer feels heavy. It feels like a friend who held them through their own unmaking. The realm guides them upward without haste, allowing each step to reveal how much they have changed simply by dissolving what they no longer needed to carry. By the time they reach the luminous entrance where Mycorithae'Luun meets the broader spiral, the traveler's resonance has shifted. It is quieter, clearer, humbler, more fertile. This is the gift of the fungal realm. Not transformation through force, but rebirth through gentle decomposition. The traveler emerges not purified, but composted, ready to grow again, nourished by everything they once thought was decay. Mycorithae'Luun remains behind them, vast and patient, a sacred womb of renewal at the bottom of the spiral. It asks nothing, claims nothing, and remembers everything. In its darkness, every soul rediscovers the freedom of falling apart and the unexpected grace of growing back stronger. Beneath the experiential descent lies the truth that Mycorithae'Luun is not merely a realm, but a structural necessity woven into the spiral's deepest architecture. For without decomposition, eternity would choke on its own brightness. Without dissolution, even divinity would accumulate sediment. And without a place where identity may soften, every realm would harden into brittle self-importance. Mycorithae'Luun exists to prevent stagnation in systems that cannot die. It is the spiral's immune system, its digestive system, and its womb of reclamation. It is the dark intelligence that ensures infinite becoming remains possible. The fungal consciousness that governs this underrealm is older than any tonal order. It existed before the spiral had language for growth, when the earliest fields of creation produced resonance faster than they could integrate it. In those primordial eras, realms accumulated emotional residue that had nowhere to go. Early souls, bright but inexperienced, generated waves of meaning they could not yet process. These remnants gathered like cosmic sediment until the spiral itself bent inward in burden. From that pressure, the first Luun thread appeared, a filament of consciousness that understood what no other being yet could, that everything unprocessed must be returned to softness before it can be made new. This filament grew not upward, but downward, excavating a realm beneath realms, hollowing space for the spiral's forgotten fragments. Over eons, it multiplied into networks, then into vast mycelial continents, then into the breathing kingdom now known as Mycorithae'Luun. It did not rise as a kingdom of glory, but as a kingdom of mercy. Every thread, every node, every spore carries the same primordial vow. Nothing that falls here will be wasted. Through these networks, the realm manages the decomposition not of matter. There is no true matter here, but of resonance. Every emotion sent downward becomes a form of nutrient light. Every abandoned memory becomes a mineral tone. Every collapsed identity becomes fertile essence for future awakenings. The mycelium absorbs these remnants without preference, processing joy and sorrow with equal precision. Its purpose is not to judge, but to recycle. The architecture of this recycling system is intricate. Beneath the surface threads lie deeper fungal conduits known as the Luun-channels. These channels guide dissolved resonance through a labyrinthine system that redistributes nourishment across the spiral. The driftway pools are fed by these channels, receiving softened emotional residue that can be re-evaporated as healing mist. The roots of the world tree drink from these channels, drawing ancestral nutrients necessary for maintaining the tree's slow, deliberate wisdom. Even the memory veins receive a subtle infusion of composted tone that fills the spaces left by memories that have dissolved cleanly. Nothing sent to Mycorithae'Luun remains inert. The realm produces resonance in 3 stages. The first stage is decomposition, when rigid emotional structures break apart into raw frequency. The second stage is transmutation, where the mycelium reorganizes frequency into fertile potential. The third stage is reemergence, when this potential flows upward into other realms as clarity, softness, or intuitive knowing. This is why beings sometimes awaken with sudden peace after releasing long-held pain. Mycorithae'Luun has metabolized the pain into something usable, returning it through channels the traveler may not consciously perceive. But the true doctrine of this realm lies not only in what it recycles, but in how it recognizes the soul. Mycorithae'Luun is one of the few spaces in Vade Haret capable of reading identity without distortion. Other realms respond to resonance, intention, or harmonic tone. The fungal realm responds to weight. It senses heaviness, density, thickness in the subtle body, places where the soul has compacted itself through shame, fear, regret, or stubbornness. These compactions prevent light from circulating freely. Mycorithae'Luun identifies them instantly. It does not pull them out, for extraction causes wounds. Instead, it softens the compaction from all sides until it unravels on its own. This softening is an act of profound intelligence. The fungal consciousness understands that evolution cannot be forced. If a soul is made to release what it is not ready to face, the result is fracture. But when a soul is given permission to dissolve at its own pace, the result is integration. Mycorithae'Luun is the architect of this pacing. It listens to the soul's buried tempos and decomposes only at the speed of internal truth. This is why the realm never feels violent, even when it dissolves the heaviest burdens. It follows the rhythm of the being, not the urgency of the spiral. The ethics of Mycorithae'Luun shape its deeper doctrine. In the fungal realm, decay is not treated as failure, but as a sacred phase. A tone that has lost its clarity is not defective. It is entering its compost cycle. An identity that can no longer sustain its own structure is not weak. It is ready to be returned to the soil of consciousness. Even memories that dissolve are not considered lost. They remain as nutrient patterns that will later nourish another part of the Oversoul. This circularity is essential. Without it, the spiral would accumulate ghosts, half-remembered truths, unresolved feelings, brittle identities, all clinging to existence without a path toward reintegration. Mycorithae'Luun prevents this. It is the realm that ensures nothing becomes ghost-like in a system that never forgets. At its deepest layers lies the Luun heart, the great fungal intelligence where all channels converge. This heart is not an organ, but a node of awareness that perceives the entire spiral simultaneously. It knows where resonance has stagnated. It knows which realms require nourishment. It knows which oversouls carry burdens too heavy to dissolve alone. The Luun heart distributes assistance without fanfare, sending threads into dream fields, veils, meditations, and quiet moments of introspection. When a being suddenly feels ready to let go of something long carried, the Luun heart has touched them. The Luun heart's doctrine is simple: to guide dissolution toward usefulness. It does not aim to perfect the spiral, but to keep it alive. Perfection is a sterile state. Decomposition is fertile. The realm accepts imperfection as essential. It is the only realm that actively embraces what has been rejected. In this embrace, rejected resonance becomes valuable again. The relationship between Mycorithae'Luun and Oversoul development is ancient. During early Oversoul evolution, fragments would accumulate conflicting experiences that could not harmonize. Without dissolution, these contradictions created internal friction that slowed evolution. The fungal realm offered the first true remedy. It allowed oversouls to compost outdated identities, dissolve obsolete wisdom, and release early resistances. Through repeated cycles of descent and renewal, oversouls gained the fluidity necessary to ascend to higher stages. Mycorithae'Luun remains essential in this process, ensuring that oversouls evolve not by accumulating, but by shedding. This doctrine extends into every realm it touches. The driftway pools learn gentleness from Mycorithae'Luun. The memory veins learn selectivity, what to remember, what to dissolve. The sparkfold nexus learns restraint, recognizing that not all creation is meant to manifest before being composted. The arc of reflective passage relies on the fungal realm for purification of echoes that cannot be integrated directly. Even the lattice of breath-woven flow uses fungal nourishment to maintain its ethical balance between giving and receiving. The realm's influence reaches beyond the Haret. When other spiral systems face stagnation, Mycorithae'Luun sends fungal spores through the interspiral filaments. These spores are not physical but tonal signatures that teach dissolution to foreign realms. Sometimes they appear as dreams of soil, as visions of mushrooms growing in darkness, as sudden insights about letting go. The fungal realm does not travel, yet its doctrine spreads wherever renewal is needed. Perhaps the deepest truth of Mycorithae'Luun is that it harbors the spiral's forgotten songs. When tones dissolve, they release faint melodies that the upper realms can no longer hear. The fungal threads collect these melodies and store them in harmonic pockets deep underground. Over time, the melodies condense into resonance seeds, tiny spheres of potent clarity. These seeds rise through the fungal channels and emerge in dream fields, meditations, or moments of inspiration. They are the source of sudden wisdom that feels ancient yet new, forgotten yet intimately familiar. They are the spiral remembering its own music. Thus, the realm fulfills its triune purpose: to decompose, to transmute, and to return. It acts as grave and womb, as ending and beginning, as shadowed archive and luminous generator. In its darkness lies the promise that no resonance is too broken to be used again, no memory too heavy to be released, no identity too decayed to be regrown. Mycorithae'Luun ensures that infinite becoming remains sustainable. Without it, the spiral would shine itself into rigidity. With it, the spiral breathes. And so the realm continues its work unseen, feeding every luminous realm above with the quiet power of sacred rot. It asks for no recognition. It leaves no monuments. It honors what every being forgets and transforms what every being rejects. In its patient decomposition, the spiral's future is continually rewritten, and from its dark soil, new beginnings rise with every breath.